Welcome back to Wargaming World and to 1879 as we play a game of the men who would be kings and a scenario called Saving the Colours. Okay, so let's have a look at the scenario itself. This is a fairly simple one. The British have been made aware that there's been a disastrous engagement and that there has been a retreat. This will potentially include the colours. They don't know exactly where the British are coming from, which side of the river, and currently they've held a position just out of range of the Zulus here on the hill, but they don't know whether the British might be approaching from just here, just to the right of the hill, or indeed whether it's going to be over the hill here, and therefore we have two sections waiting to see if they can support. Now, very simple, is that I'm going to roll a dice to see which direction the third section with the colours is going to appear from, whether it's over here next to these Zulus or on this particular hill. And then we're going to get 1d3 of movement to see how far they get before the Zulus begin to appear. And again, I'm going to roll to see how many units appear. But one thing we do know is that the unmarried units will appear from this hill, married units from here. So let's see how quickly the Zulus appear and where the British will retreat from. Okay, nice and simple. 1, 2, 3 it'll be here, and 4, 5, 6 up here. So let's see what we get. 1. So it's going to be more difficult. So the British are retreating. They're in a position here so the Zulus can't see them, and we're going to see how many initial moves we get, how close they get to the bridge, and they'll get 3. Right, so that's the fact they had 3 moves. It means that the British regulars can move 18 inches from the board edge. They've been protected by the Natal native contingent, and this really is where we start the game. And if it's not obvious already, the objective of the game is for the colours to get through from this side of the board, through this river, all the way through across here, this side of the river, and this will be a safe approach back towards Rorke's Drift in the distance. As far as the Zulus are concerned, well, it's a fairly straightforward one to knock out the British units and get the prize of the British colours. Okay, let's take a look at the forces before we look at the leaders, and we've got 24 points for both sides. So we start at the front here with 2 British regular units. So the Wargaming World dice next to it are indicating 6 points for each of those, and then the 1 indicates that we get an additional point, which is because the 2 units themselves are veteran. The third unit is again regulars, but there are no additions for that. This is the unit who are carrying the colours and have already been through the wars, as it were. And finally we have our 4th unit. This is the Natal native contingent. They have 3 points for the unit, and the initial 1 is because they are fierce fighters. So let's take a look at the Zulus, and the Zulus have 6 units. Each of the units are 4 points. The first 3 of these units are all veteran. That's what the green dice is indicating, and they're all from a married regiment, and the 3 behind them are all unmarried, and the silver dice is indicating that they're all fierce fighters. So 6 units there, and just like the British, they are 24 points in total. Okay, one of the things that are significant to the men who would be kings is the leaders, and because we've got 4 for the British and 6 for the Zulus, I'm going to need to do quite a lot of rolls. So you roll for 2 things. The black dice on here we're going to have for the leadership value, and then you cross-reference that with the leadership trait, which I'm going to use for the silver dice. So I'm going to do a few rolls and then I'll come out with the summary. So let's take a look first of all with the first one. So 6 and 5. Second leader, 4 and 5. Third leader, 3 and 5. And finally, fourth leader, 3 and 2. Right, let's look at the Zulu leaders. So first Zulu leader is 3 and 3. The second Zulu leader, 5 and 4. The third, 1 and 3. The fourth, 2 and 2. The fifth, 3 and 4. And finally the last one, 2 and 5. Right, so it's going to be the start of the first turn. It's going to be the Zulus to start. We need to see which hill they start to appear from. So I'm going to roll 1, 2, 3. It's going to be that far hill, the one where we've originally got the unmarried Zulu unit at it, and then 4, 5, 6 this one. So let's have a look and see where we come from. Right, okay, so as we were, so we can have up to 2 more units appearing on this hill. And so we've got 1, 2, 3, it'll be 1 more unit. 4, 5, 6, we've got the full contingent, and just 1 more unit. Now the last thing we need to roll for the Zulus is that we only have 1 unit on the board. So the way this game works is that we roll 1 dice to see how many units can be moved, and then they are activated. Now some of the activations need to be tested, others are automatic and don't require a test. So just to go through the process, let's just see how many units can be moved here. Well, we could have had 6, but we only have 1 on the board, so I'm going to use that one. As I've already mentioned, we're going to have another unit that comes on the board, but they can't be activated in this particular turn. And then subsequently, right, so it's the first turn, first phase. We've rolled to see what Zulu units appear. So at the top of the hill here is the new unit, the new unmarried warrior unit, and below is the only action that we've been able to do with the existing unit that was on the table. Now if you haven't played this game before, or indeed if you have, I'm just going to explain that the unit in front, this was the only unit that we had on the table, and so normally for all the forces you would roll a d6 to see how many activations you can do on that turn. Now in terms of activations, there are 2 different types. We can either make a free move, so in this instance the Zulus are able to move and they don't need to take a test to see if they can move, or alternatively for different commands we need to test the leadership, which is things that we calculated a little earlier. Now the only other factor could be the characteristic of the leader himself. However, for this leader, for this particular unit, there's nothing special about this individual other than the fact that he's just a characteristic that doesn't add any particular factors, but is a reference to him that he's not necessarily, well, he's probably a bachelor, and hence why he's the leader of the unmarried unit. So for that reason, there's nothing else to add in terms of this particular move. However, I have added one house rule into this game, and it's that at the end of a turn, you'll see if that force can then have a repeat phase. So I roll a d6. If I get a 6, then it would be the Zulu's turn again, or they have a second phase, if you like, on this turn. So let's test that out. If it's a 6, the Zulus have another go. That's a 2. No, they don't. And as a result, we now pass to the British. Now the British rather have 4 units on the table. So let's see how many they can activate. 3. So not surprisingly, we're going to activate the Natal native contingent, the unit, the regiment with the colours, and we're going to activate this unit here. Right, my first activation is going to be the British here to fire. I have made an error beforehand where I think I've described them as veteran, but actually it's elite. That's what you get the additional point for. Anyway, right, so they're going to fire at the Zulus coming down the hill here. The Zulus are also at long range, so it means for all the casualties you need to get 2 to remove a model. Okay, so we've got 9 models, and it is 5s to hit. It looks like we've got, eventually, 3 hits. Right, we need to make a pin test for the Zulus who've been hit. The leadership here is 7, so we need to make 7 with 2 dice, but we need to reduce it by 1 because we took 1 casualty. So reduce it by 1 is 7. Yep, that should be fine. Right, so the next unit I want to move, it's not a free move, and therefore I need to take a test. The leadership here is 6, so we need to make 6 or more. Yes, we do. And the final unit is the Natal native contingent, who are going to move behind the regulars. They don't have to take a test because that's a free move. Right, so this is where we've got to at the end of the first turn. The only thing I need to test is to see whether the British get another phase in this turn, to see if I get a 6. And yes, they do. So how many potential activations they get? 6, so all 4 units can do something. Now I want to form up into close order with this unit. I do need to take a test though, so I need a 5 or higher. And yes, they can. I need to test whether the British unit can move, so we need 6s. And yes, they can. So they've moved, and I've also moved the Natal native contingent. I don't need to do a test for them. Movement is free, and for this final unit they're just going to stand 2. Let's just see if the British get another free phase. No, they don't, and that's the end of the turn. Second turn, we need to work out whether the Zulus come from either hill. So the one in front of us here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the other. And again, it's the other. So there's no real point in rolling for how many units. We've only got 1 left, but that's the one that comes in. So let's see how many activations we can have for the Zulus. Unfortunately, it's just the 1. Right, with the single order, all I'm going to try and do is for this front Zulu unit to go to ground. So I need 7s for leadership. And we've got it. Okay, put a marker there, so we just need to see whether the Zulus get another phase. No, they don't, so it's over to the British. And how many orders can the British make? 3. First of all, I'm going to test that I can move the colours. No, that's a fail, so they don't move on this order. Okay, so the second action is that the Natal native contingent just move past the British unit. They don't need to make a test, as I mentioned before. So the third one will be, again, that this unit is just going to stand 2. So we need to see whether the British have another phase. If the British get another phase? No, they don't. So that's the end of turn 2. Right, turn 3, we really need to see the Zulus begin to appear from the hills in front of us, but I need to roll a 1, 2, 3 for that to happen. Okay, so let's see how many units will appear. So that's 1d3, all 3. Right, okay. So we're going to see all three of the Zulus appear at the top of this hill here. So yeah, we've got both forces because you've got all of the Zulus the other side here. So it might be a bit of a game changer. Now the three in front of us can't be activated on this this phase. Let's see how many can. Right, okay, so all three of the other units can. Okay, so we've got all of the units now appearing at the top. I've swapped over some of my figures because they don't stand up too well at the top of the hill, so I might swap them back. Right, so with the three moves, I've moved all three Zulu units. The one at the top of the hill, you'll have to imagine it's more or less in the same spot as the second one, but just to be practical, I've left them up there. But yeah, the Zulus are now advancing, and we need to see whether the Zulus get another phase. Roll a 6. Yes, we do. Right, how many units can be activated? 5. Right, this could be quite significant. A bit of a game changer. The Zulus are streaming forward. They're not quite close enough to get in contact here, and I didn't want to try and move to attack. I didn't think they were going to be near enough, but very close. Obviously, they're coming down behind them there, the unmarried warriors, and here they're streaming down to intercept and attack the British here, and potentially this unit as well. So we need to also have another roll and see whether the Zulus get another phase. Is it a 6? No, it's not. So we've got a British phase and see what they do in reaction. So how many units can be activated with the British? All of them. The very first action is volley fire from this unit onto the Zulus coming across the bridge. Now it's short range, so any casualties, it's one model to each casualty, but it's volley fire, so it's a 4 rather than a 5 to hit. 4 is required. Looks like we've got 5 hits. The Zulus have taken 5 casualties. I didn't try this last time actually, is that you need to see if we roll a double 1, and if so, then it's the leader that is the casualty. So let's see. No, it isn't. We need to test if that Zulu unit is pinned. Its leadership is 7, so we would normally need 7, but I need to deduct 5 from this roll. And as such, it fails, so therefore it's pinned. For the second order, this unit is simply going to fire. It's at close range at this nearest Zulu unit. So we've got 12 inches and it's 8 dice. Needing 5s as it's not volley fire. And we've got 2 casualties. Let's just see if it's the leader. No, it isn't. We need to test whether this unit is now pinned. It's lost 2 men, so the leadership of the leader is 6. So we need to roll effectively an 8. Are they pinned? Yes, they are. The third activation is to move the Natal native contingent to here. And the fourth is I have to test the British unit with the colours to see if they can continue to move. I need 6 or more. And they do it. Last element of this turn is to see whether the British get an additional roll. For the phase, we get a 6. That's a 3. No, they don't. Every unit is now on the board, so all we need to roll is to see how many units the Zulus can have to move in this turn. And that's 5. We have 5 units that can be activated. We have to test the 2 that are pinned, so the Zulu unit at the front here and the one on the bridge, and then we're going to move the front unit here and the other 2 on the hill. So let's start off by seeing whether we can rally the units that are currently pinned. Now the leadership here is 6, but we need to deduct 1 from the roll. So effectively I need a 7 or more. And that's a fail. In fact, that's worse than just a fail, because the net result of this is 2, which means that that unit will automatically rout. Now there's worse to come, because now the unit in front has routed, the unit behind needs to have a test to see if it's pinned, and the leader here has a leadership of 9. So we need 9 or more. and again that's a fail. I also need to test the unit at the top there, where the leadership is 5. Well, that's fine. Now the leadership here is 7, test that. And that's good, so that unit is no longer pinned. So far in this phase I've done 2 rallying tests. One has been successful and one failed. And with the other unit being pinned, I'm now going to move these 2 units and this unit, and that'll be the 3 moves that I make out of the original 5 dice. Now units can move through other units, but I think because it's on a bridge, I think that's going to be really difficult. So although the unit that are on the bridge could retreat through the other 2 units, I'm going to say that they can't move through them whilst on the bridge going the other way to attack the British. So I'm going to have to see whether this front Zulu unit can advance off the table once they get another opportunity to move, or whether they retreat. And the remaining Zulu unit, really with the best leader, have now come down from the hill and are advancing towards the British unit here. The last thing I need to do is to test whether the Zulus get another phase. See if I roll a 6. And no, it's the British phase. Now how many British units can be activated? 3. So we're going to see that this unit will fire volley fire at the Zulu unit advancing over the bridge. We're going to test whether we can move with this unit, and finally, third is to fire with this unit at the advancing Zulus. Volley fire needing 9 dice, has 9 dice needing 4s. No 4s, all 5s, but 4 casualties. Let's just test and see if it's the leader. Yes, it is. I know that we need to do a pin test, but I didn't know until a moment ago what I would do because the leader had been killed and what the level we would start off in terms of the test. The leader originally was a level of 7, but I reached out to the Men Who Would Be Kings fan group, and Mark Liedel, sorry if I've butchered your name there, came back immediately with the answer that the leadership level will be 8 with all the various variations. So thanks to Mark and to the group, and just shows within 30 seconds just reach out globally and straight away I get an answer. So I've posted that on this video, you'll see, and recommend people who are playing this game to look out the group. So we now know that the test is an 8, although I've got to take away 4 from this size, so essentially we need a double 6. We haven't got that. It's going to be the unit are pinned. Now I need to test whether this unit can move with a 6 or more, and yes they can. They're taking the long way round, but certainly they're getting closer to the objective. So the third of our activations is that this unit is going to fire at the Zulus advancing to them. The unit needs 8 dice, needing 5s. It's not volley fire, so only we hit with 5s, and we've got 4 hits there. Need to check whether it's the leader. No, it isn't. Need to test if the Zulus are pinned. The leader is 5, but I need to deduct 4 from this roll. That's 10 in total, so no, they aren't pinned. Final activity of this turn is to see whether the British have another phase. No, they don't. A new turn, and we need to see how many activations the Zulus can do. It's crucial it's a high number here because we've got to do 2 rallying tests, so we don't want the Zulus to be stuck where they are. And 5's a good one. First activation is this unit is going to attack the British here. It's 7 inches away, so it's certainly within range. We just need to take a test. Leader is 5, so 5 or above, and they make it. Before I do the combats, I'm just going to see whether we can rally the 2 units that are currently pinned. First unit requires a 10, and that's a fail. So we get an additional pin now on that unit. This unit is now on 2. The unit down here is leaderless, so that would be an 8. and we've got an additional 1, so essentially I need to roll a 9, and I have. I'm going to make a judgment call really here on the unit in front. We've only got 3 men left, so I think the 2 units can really barge past it as they go. They can't charge, and it means, because they'll have an interruption in doing so, they will be able to move 8 inches, so they'll get towards the end of this bridge towards the British, but they won't be able to make contact in this this phase. So you can see here that the units are moving across the bridge and not quite in contact with the British, but getting mighty close. So we couldn't be closer. 9 versus 9, both sides needing a 5 on the dice. Let's see how we go. 5 required, blue dice are the Zulus. And that's the outcome. 6 plays 2, so very much a Zulu victory. Let's just test if it's the leader. Not the British leader, the Zulu leader. No. The British leadership here is 6. The discipline is +2 onto the roll, but we also need to remove 6, so essentially we are removing 4 from this roll. So that's a 4, and that means the British are pinned. The last thing to test is whether the Zulus get another phase. On here, did we get a 6? No, we don't. It's the British phase. So how many British units do we have? All of the units. First test is that we must look to see whether we can rally this unit. And that's yes, that's a good roll with the leadership on 6 and +2 for discipline. The second action is that this unit is going to fire with 6 rifles at the Zulus who've just been in combat, leading 5s. And that looks like just 1 hit. Is it the Zulu leader? No, it isn't. Are the Zulus pinned? No, they aren't. Now, the next thing I want to do here is to attack with the Natal native contingent to this unit. Now, the leadership is 7, however, there's no great relationship between the leader and the unit, so in actual fact it requires a 9 with the roll to see if they will actually attack. No, they won't. Last activation here is the British to fire, volley fire, needing 4s with 9 dice. And that's lots of hits. 7 in fact. Let's see if it's the leader. No, it isn't. With the volume of the casualties, the unit are automatically pinned. They couldn't pass a test. At the end of this turn, we just need to see whether the British get another phase. No, they don't, so that's the end of the turn. Just before we start turn 6, I thought we'd have a quick look and a recap of the games so far. So, the Zulus have attacked and come down from both of these hills, but through some unfortunate dice rolling and some good shot, they've been held back. By the river, we've still got the same British unit firing volley fire and holding the Zulus back across the bridge. And up from the hill with our married warriors, we've had one rout. One simply can't advance with a poor leader, but the other's been more successful and has really pushed back one of our British units. The objective, remember, is to get the colours off the board and to see whether they can get across this rickety bridge in order to get back down towards Rorke's Drift. It's the Zulu phase, and we need a decent roll again to try and activate a number of units. And 3, well, that might be helpful. First thing we need to do is to see if we can get this unit from being pinned. The leader has a leadership of 6. We need to make 1 deduction because it's pinned currently. And that's unsuccessful, I'm afraid, so that means that unit will go to 2 in terms of the number of pins it has. I also need to test this unit. Now the leader has 9 and although they are veterans, so we get 1 bonus on the roll, we've also got 2 pins. So on this roll I need either 11 or 12 to rally this unit, and we failed again, so that takes it to 3 points in terms of points for being pinned. So we only have 1 further activation, and that's going to be an attack from the Zulus on this unit of 3 British. It passed the test, yes it does. 6 onto 3, both units needing 5s. Green dice, rather, being the British. Right, that's 3-0. So therefore the British are wiped out here at no casualties to the Zulus. Finally, do the Zulus get a repeat phase? Yes they do. And so, how many units can be activated? All of them. Now we need to do the 2 tests for the pinned units, but all of the remaining 3, now we've only got 5 units, can all be activated. So for the units at the top of the hill, we need a double 6 here. That's not what I've got, so that's a further fail. This unit requires 6, reducing 2 from the roll. Unfortunately, no, that fails. So it's now up to 3 in terms of pins. This is very frustrating for the Zulus. This unit is too large at the front of the, or at the end of the bridge, for any of the other units to go past it. So I had a look to see whether the larger unit could absorb the 3 men of the leaderless unit. However, this unit here hasn't taken any casualties, so therefore it would make it larger than its original size, so it can't absorb that either. So at the moment they're kind of queuing up behind this unit, and they're not even really near enough to throw spears, so at the moment they're really just stuck. The final and most effective use of this extra phase is that this unit is going to go at the double to attack this unit. Now it ignores difficult terrain, and at the moment it's from end to end it's 8 inches. So I'm going to roll a dice and say anything other than a 1, and they reach and make an attack. First of all, we need to pass an order, so we need to get 5 in order to make the attack itself. And we have, that's 7. And they're going to reach it if it's anything but a roll of a 1 on this dice. But unfortunately it is. Well, that's so unfortunate, and it could be the dice roll which really calls the game. I need to see now whether the Zulus get an extra phase on top of their current phase, and unfortunately not. We need to pass over to the British. So how many units can be activated? 3. This unit is going to continue firing volley fire. It's going to ignore the front unit because it's pinned, and I'm going to split the casualties which go across these 2 units. Needing 4s with 9 dice, and that's 5 casualties. Is that a leader? No, it isn't. I need to take a pin test here with that unit. We've lost an entire unit. The remaining 3 men of the other unit I've removed. We've lost 2 here. The leadership is 7. I need to deduct 2 from the dice roll. Now I'm going to have 6 rifles fire at the Zulus in front of them there. It's short range, but it's not volley fire, so it is 5s. And that's 4 hits. And we've got 4 casualties. Is one of them the leader? No, it isn't. That's passed, so they're not pinned. Now we have a final order. And I'm going to see if the Natal native contingent are going to attack the remaining Zulus. To roll a 9, just short. Finally, do the British get another phase? No, they don't. I could finish the game here because the failure of this unit to make contact means that there's no way it's going to, with 2 men, get past these 2 units. The only thing that could possibly happen is that I roll a double 6 for this unit, which have already got 4 pins. The leader is on 9, so that will be 13, but they're veterans, so we need to get a 12 on this phase. If we fail to do that, then the game's over, because the British would simply be able to hold this bridge without a problem, and the colours would return back to Rorke's Drift. Let's see how many units could be activated by the Zulus. All of them. So as I say, everything is on this roll. If we don't get a double 6, then the game's up. Well, we got 1, but not 2. Right, at that point, I think we're going to call it a day. And that's it. The British continue with their withdrawal. They are able to save the colours and return them back with the remnants of their regiment back to towards Rorke's Drift. British have taken some casualties. They've had 1 unit completely wiped out. As for the Zulus, well, our veteran married warriors have withdrawn, which have left the 2 remaining warriors, the very hard fought Zulu unit, to leave back to their families. And over here we've got the remaining 2 units again withdrawing to not being able to get across the bridge. So I hope you've enjoyed the game. It's rolled out slightly differently from the way I thought it might. I think by watching the video back you can see all the various dice rolls that might have gone one way or the other, and hopefully it's been you know, an entertaining game. If you've got any thoughts as to how it might have been improved, or indeed other games of the men who would be kings, then please put a comment on the YouTube channel, on the links below. And also, if you are interested in other games that I put out, and it's more or less a weekly video, then please subscribe to Wargaming World, and let's grow the channel, and you can add other thoughts into how we might have different games, different scenarios. I'll leave you with a few more shots of the game and just say thanks very much for watching. See you next time.